And we're live.
Perfect.
All right. Hello and welcome to the Halifax Roundtable. My name is Joe, and sitting with me at the roundtable is Croker. We are going to spend the next hour talking about Alien RPG, the Halifax campaign, and relatable themes. We are live, so feel free to leave comments or ask questions. We will respond appropriately. So, if you could, Croker, keep an eye on that. I tend to get busy and lose track.
Yeah, I gotta actually throw the link in again because I actually don't think I have it loaded up. I forgot he usually does all that.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. It's around there somewhere, but
yeah, I'll find it. I'm digging it up now. But yeah, you can start it off.
Yep. So so let's go ahead and get started. So one of the first things I wanted to bring up, because the past couple, every episode seems to be kind of heated, but or full of tension between members, but it seems like in this last one that maybe we or the crew finally got back on level and kind of made up and stuff like that. So what do you think?
I think what more so for us is that we're finding that best way to say it.
Yeah.
I think from my point of view, it's more of we are in a really stressful situation, and so we're kind of starting to put aside a lot of stuff and just deal with the situation. I'm curious if, how Cable would react if he were to be placed onto a situation, a colony situation, or like a space station, or I think he feels for Cable, he feels trapped. And so it's, I think, less about maybe we're coming together, but more of like all four individuals know we have to get through what we're going through.
Do you think that's the case though? Because I felt like things kind of got patched up a little bit before you even landed on LV.
Yeah, I think we had a more come together moment.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's as much like Cable feels confident in the group. I don't think he's like, oh yeah, this is our issues are resolved. I think it's more of he has to deal with it and just get past it. Yeah, I don't know if he would. I would say Cable. I don't know if Kato, I would say, is definitely over it either. I think he's definitely in that still I'm not sure about the whole situation.
Do you think Imogen has anything to do with that? I know Imogen worries Cable a little bit.
I think Cable. And I'll be honest, I was really torn on how I wanted to play it. Like, would he be ultra hostile to her all the time? Would he recognize the separation a little bit? And I think I kind of did it as in my own head of Cable survival instincts kicked in. It was okay, it's not push her over the edge. I think his anger is definitely subsided somewhat.
Yeah, I kind of picked up on that. Yeah,
his anger has subsided a little bit. I think he's past his maybe anger at the whole crew, and is more like his survival instincts of okay, we're in a tough situation, let's get to it.
Yeah, Cable took a lot of shit, so and
Cable can't even walk. What do you think?
Yeah, right. Yeah,
Cable's hobbled against the ship. I think that's where I would say for Cable is he's less I forgive everyone, and more let's get through this tough situation.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, because now you all are in a tough spot. For sure.
Yeah, and I think his his like curiosity's starting to become like, like how does somebody still know about this, all that kind of stuff. And I wonder if he's exactly how he's going to like handle it going forward. Is he gonna be kind of responsive to like trying to figure this all out, try piece things together, or is he gonna be more focused on just trying to get off this planet?
Yeah.
Like I said, I think I want to make it so Cable's slight insanity, like you walk into like his room and there's like one of those like where there's pictures of things with little strings attached to them, going from like with question marks and like he's trying to piece it all together, but it's like the insanity side of it more than the logical side.
Yeah. I mean, well, I think going back and looking at all of it, how does this compare to? How does this situation compare to everything else that Cable's and the rest of the crew has been through at this point? I mean, Aeon Station was pretty tough, but I think
Aeon Station is what really broke Cable a little bit.
Yeah,
but I think he didn't think of it in such a. I don't think he liked seeing two people die, and obviously that was really rough on him. And he maybe sees people die, but not like directly next to him, like shot through the head kind of aspect of it. And then I think the bioweapon obviously was more like, okay, the same thing. Survival mode kicks in, how we get past this. But I think then the mystery of on Lumina Station, the spider and the numbers and the duffel bag, all that kind of stuff is what's starting to make him think, like her disappearing at one point and doors opening. Like I think that's that paranoia side,
right? Yeah, I mean all that stuff.
I'm really curious. That's the thing. That's like, at what point do I say that Cable has gone like purely like paranoid, or like a sheer like permanent PTSD concept?
There is a mechanic for that.
There's part of me that wants to say that you should impose that on Cable at some point. I'm torn between saying is this something I should tell you, like I think he has gone to that point, or is that more of a situation where you just see it? I don't know. I'm torn on it.
Yeah, I'm not going to go into that, but yeah. We'll see.
Well, that's the thing is, I'm really curious. Like, it's something I would say. I don't know. I feel like I know Cable well. Like, it's in a way that, like, every time I had to kind of disseminate everything in my own head. Think of the emotional state of him, and really start to like get a feeling for how he reacts and stuff. So it's like I'm torn between saying is he stable? Has he ever really been stable? He's always been a little bit of a, will he get his humor, get him through it? He's always got the humorous side of him, tries to make a joke out of things, to deal with the pain.
Yeah, his way of dealing with situations, Yeah,
he's always been like the kind of like guy, laughs at the funeral kind of person,
Yeah, right.
And then it's like, I think there's a point where I think he knew he's gonna die, but then like more from like a abstract concept, and then now like when in this situation, survival instincts kick in because he doesn't actually want to die. Like he.
Yeah. And that's a hard thing I find myself to read sometimes. I'm not even sure which direction Cable wants to go.
I don't know. I'm torn on it every time. Each time I try to like play it the way I think he would, and I'm like, oh, would he really play it that way? And it's hard for me because this character's so now become so dynamic in my own head.
Yeah,
like he was kind of the humorous, slightly rebellious side of him, and now it's I'm torn where he is. I'm halfway. I'm like saying he's gonna just fully snap.
Yeah. Well,
or
the alcohol's gone now.
Their humor pushes him through, and he's able to, get through. And I don't know if, like, even when he was mad at Imogen, if he truly thought Imogen would actually kill him.
Mm-hmm.
I think there was part of him that's like, oh, she won't actually do it, like, in his own head.
Right. Well, what's going to happen now that, well, I guess we don't want to really say, but the alcohol's gone now. So.
Yeah, and that's the other side of it, was like how well the pills work, things like that, and dealing with that. And I think it's also making sure we kind of focus a little bit more on that too in the future.
Yeah,
I think sometimes I kind of put it off in the back burner because so much other stuff goes on.
Yeah, that's why I've been trying to announce the whole shift thing.
Yeah, and I've been putting on his stress die and things like that.
Yeah, I figured you've kind of gotten to the groove a little bit I'm kind of trusting you to do that, and then when you get to a point where it, the stress, the medication is to keep your stress down, but if you somehow lose track of it or whatnot, it'll be up to you to say.
Well, he has never actually taken the pills. I don't know if you've gone to that, or if Ward has gone to that. No one's gone to it. So I've always been adding the stress die onto it.
Oh, you have? Okay.
Yeah, so I had like 4 stress die. That's why we did the nap relief.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah. So I said, I have 3 stress dies. Originally, I thought I only went down by 1.
Yeah.
But he hasn't actually ever taken the pills yet, officially.
Okay, well.
Oh, that's part of Cable's rebellious side of him still.
Yeah. Well, keep track of that, and then if there's, and then it comes to a point where you think it's getting too out of hand, then I'll leave it up to you to approach, like Ward or something like that.
Yeah, that's the thing I've been torn on, and like how I want to, like, if he's actually willing to kick it now, but he has no access to alcohol, so it's like kind of like that torn feeling of, do I want to? Would you take the pills then, or would you be like, no, screw it, I'll just go through the pain of it? I don't know.
Yeah, right.
Like, I don't think he still would trust Ward as much as, I still think he has a trust issue with Ward a little bit, but
right. Makes sense. I'll be interested to see how you play that off.
Well, that's why I waited for the nap relief, because eventually I was like, I'll get up to like 3 or 4. My theory was it would be like the kind of person who's like, hate going to the doctor until you're like in so much pain. You're like, okay, I have to go to the doctor, kind of like aspect. So you're like, okay, fine, I have to worry about getting nap relief or something to relieve the stress,
Yeah.
kind of aspect.
Well, the curious thing too about this now, like, who knows what you're gonna do on this planet? Like, how long are you gonna be here? Kind of thing. Now, I mean, you're pretty much stranded. So now it's not even just about lack of, like, for your case, like lack of alcohol. It's making your supplies last. That's including the pills and stuff like that.
Yeah, and I think they gave me enough pills officially to get me become an alcoholic, though, officially. So I think they gave me enough pills that I could literally kick the alcoholism. The question is, will Cable ever take them? Or will he try to find alcohol on this planet?
Right. And how effective will they be if you don't take them as prescribed?
Well, I haven't taken them yet. So that's the question. He hasn't taken them yet. He hasn't decided if he's going to take them or not.
Yeah.
Well, I think he's also curious if he'll find alcohol here. I think that's why he hasn't taken them yet, because he knows the side effects, of drinking with them. So
that's true. Yeah, I mean, you got a whole.
But his theory process, there could be alcohol here, even with the dead people.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you guys only got into the reception area, so
exactly. There's a lot to go. So I'm just curious. Like, we don't know anything beyond,
yeah,
what we know.
Which the reception area had quite a few surprises in it. The one being that at some point the terminal that was inside of the reception area activated itself, and a working Joe came on, which the crew knows about a working Joe. They're a Seegson manufactured android, which is Seegson is a competitor of Weyland-Yutani. They're androids that are just not quite as sophisticated as the Weyland androids, which is how they get their name Working Joe, because they're pretty much just workers for the most part. However, they've been known to go AWOL, or they could be hacked or not quite as secure. That's the
question. I think from your end is how what would we actually know from what we do our own personal research?
What would you know? How much? That's the thing. It's like, it's kind of hard to, I told you guys to go ahead and if you wanted to research stuff like that, I have no problem with that.
Like when we know that the eyes going red means they're hostile.
I would say yes. I would say that's common knowledge. Things like that. It's more like the histories and things like that you might not know. Something that might have happened on a planet or something like that. If anybody were to know about the more abstract stuff, the things that aren't as well known, it would be Carson. Carson's kind of he's into all of that history and what's the word I'm looking for? Can't think of it. But conspiracy theories, things like that.
Well, would there be like a role for how much we know? Like even me as a pilot, I've flown on multiple ships and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But on multiple planet, what would be like a role you would do to see what amount of knowledge we might have? Like, say I wanted to say, like, hey, do I know about the Apollo operating system that they have on it?
That would like that kind of stuff. I would say yes, you would, because Apollo is synonymous with Seegson. It's Seegson tech.
What would be the chances like somebody like me would hear about, like, say, a rumor of how many people do you think would have heard a rumor about xenomorphs?
At this point, it's not common at all.
Well, like how uncommon? Like, I mean, like extremely rare,
extremely, extremely rare. Okay. Yeah. If anything, if you do hear anything, it might be, more of like a conspiracy theory type thing. Completely or highly inaccurate. There was the one thing that Carson came across. I think he shared it with you all, where he picked up a signal or he was somehow he got a message or something like that. That was actually Ripley's. It was Ripley's final report from that she says at the end of Alien, the first Alien movie.
Yeah.
But it also had something that came from years later attached to it. I can't remember what it said off the top of my head, but I'm pretty sure Carson shared it. But you could always reapproach him if you wanted to hear it again. So there's things like that, that I am injecting into it. I'm not, that's kind of my my own thing. But yeah, at this point, it's extremely rare. So, is there somewhere you were going with that?
Well, I guess the question of like, would there be again, going back to using like D&D, I think it's the only kind of base point we have for doing things like this kind of thing. So, like we would have, in D&D, be like a history check with a DC modifier of like, say, something that would be crazy rare, be like a 23 or something. Like you have to like almost roll a 20 and then have a modifier just to get to it.
Mm-hmm.
Would it be something like that for?
I don't think there's anything like that for Alien, but what I could do. You're giving me an idea here. So for an instance like this, Working Joes, So we could take this example, and what I could do is I could create a sheet, like a Google sheet, like I've done with some
Yeah,
other
that's what I was
stuff.
thinking. Like how much we would each know individually,
Well, I could start with a generalized.
or generalized for all. Like,
Yeah.
say generalized, and something that we would know from like a, hey, you know, I was on a ship with some guy who told me a rumor about working shows.
Right.
I was like, oh yeah, that guy Bob who used to fly with me, he always talked about these working Joe things and how blah 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 happened.
Yeah. Yeah, that's actually a good idea. I can create a sheet and create a general knowledge, which I kind of did with like the companies and stuff like that, you know. So I'll come up with something like that for the working Joes, and then if there's anything specific to the characters, then I can either put it into your character sheet or message you with it or something like that. Does that sound like it would work?
Yeah, I'm thinking something like that, just so that would allow us to not metagame too much.
Right. Yeah.
Having read every single thing about them, to, you know, because it is hard for me to like to separate, you know, how much would they know, and not
it is hard, yeah.
It is hard, especially when you start reading about it. So
right.
It would be good for us to have like a base knowledge. Okay, you only know this much about working Joes.
And the only thing is, you know, I probably wouldn't hit everything, so I'm sure there would still be some instances where you would have to wave me down, you know, wave the GM, be like, hey.
Yeah. Well, there may be things I'd be like, oh, well, I know this, happen to know this.
Right.
Curiously, because you put the picture of the android up, did you intentionally set the eye color that way, or did you not have access to one with red eyes?
No, that's the only one I had. Yeah.
So we never asked the question what color the eyes were.
Right. Yeah, nobody asked.
In the image. Okay.
In the image. Yeah, in the image.
I'm trying to like replay the episode a little bit in my head. I was like, we would have seen the eye color. So like, what color would we have seen?
Yeah. I mean, it's no secret really. So, you would have noticed that they were red eyes.
Okay, cool. Okay.
Yeah.
So we know they're hostile to us.
So, you know, yeah. So that's probably something we'll
bring up next.
Yes.
I'll ask next episode. Don't worry.
Yeah. Well. Yeah. Since not, well, you might be you might just nominate yourself because now you know that the eyes you.
Well, I was going to ask you either way because the image you gave, I was like, okay, that does not have red eyes. So I would have asked.
Yeah.
What color are the eyes?
I'll see if I can find another one. I'll take a look.
Yeah, it's not a huge deal. I think you could just, because you've already put it up, I don't think you should go back and change it. I think you're better off just letting me ask, because I'm going to ask.
Yeah. Okay.
Or I'm going to bring it up.
The only thing I could think that wouldn't work is if there were multiple working Joes and some were and some weren't. So I might have to find something.
Well, but we would know that one was hostile, so we would know there's at least a hostile working Joe on that was at one point on the station, or is still on the station, or you know.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but anyway, you know, they'll be fun to if you see one.
Well, something's behind the door that's moving on the other side of the other door. We know there's something moving.
Yeah. That's right. Ward got a ping.
Yep.
Yeah, that's right.
He got a ping. So we'll see what happens with that.
I gotta figure that out, by the way. So roll 20, for some reason, I can't put the ping in there and have it come through fog of war. So
it may not be. He may not be able to. It may be because it is fog of war, or your settings. I'm gonna go into my roll 20 while you're talking about it, because I have a bunch with. I use fog of war same as you do, like quite often.
Yeah. Yeah, I like it. I like how it works, but
yeah, and it's pretty effective. So when you did the ping on your Roll20, did you see your own ping?
Yeah, I could see it. Mm-hmm. But it was like the opacity. I can't say it. The opacity was like up. It was dim. You know what I mean? So it was like it was hidden under the fog of war. That makes sense.
Yeah, I'm just curious. That's why I'm just curious if there's a setting GM info overlay.
Yeah, there's got to be some way to like put it on top of the fog of war or something like that. You know. But that might defeat the purpose of the fog of war, so they might. I don't know.
Well, there's probably a way so you could allow pinging.
Well,
it's probably under like dynamic lighting or something.
Well, two things about that. One is I don't pay for the subscription.
Oh,
so I don't have access. I don't have access to. Yeah. And two, the ping is just a token. That's all I'm using.
Yeah, that's what you use. I mean, there's a real ping, and the question was, could you change the ping to allow you for other people to see your ping? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like wherever it is, fog of war or not. Because I had advanced lighting.
Yeah.
Because I have the subscription, so I'd be curious if there's a way.
Yeah, I'll have.
If it's something I would have access to, or just you would have access to.
I'll play with it. Maybe if anybody else.
I happen to be in here while we're. I'm just looking through some stuff while we're talking.
Yeah. If anybody out there comes across this, maybe they know how to do it. I don't know.
Yeah, there's nobody else has joined us yet, but
yeah.
So maybe somebody will watch it at some point and see it.
Yeah. So then the other thing that we ran into in the reception area. So for those that might come across this, whatever. So back on gosh, what's it been now? Week and a half. Back on
week and a half. About a week and a half.
Yeah, back on September 2nd, I had to put my dog down. Buddy, he was a puggle that I rescued back in 2009, so I had him for quite a long time. And I think it was the day that we were supposed to play again. Last week. This time last week, it was that day that I decided I wanted to do a little tribute to him. So I really didn't plan that well for it. So I think it was like an hour before we started playing. I put his little character sheet together and found a picture, and then I took one of the videos that I had of him and extracted the audio and edited it, cut it down a little bit, so that audio bit that I played was actually him making those noises. That was.
Oh, I didn't think about that.
Yeah, that was him sleeping, because every time he slept, he would make all these noises because he was a noisy sleeper. So anyway, I used that audio, and then I took a picture of him and made the token out of it, and I did all of that about an hour before we started playing. And I kind of looking back at it now, actually, before I even say that, the other decision that I had trouble making was whether or not to tell you guys ahead of time. I was like, it'd be cool to surprise them, but at the same time, they might not know how to handle it. Not how to handle it, but you know what I mean. Like, just catch off guard. That's what I meant. So I decided to surprise you guys with it instead. I thought it'd be kind of fun to do. And looking back at it now, one, I wish I had planned for it, because I kind of just went with it as it went off. Like, I had him originally when you guys found him in the closet sleeping. I kind of just came up with that right then and there. And then Dan started to try and shut the door on him. And I was like, no. He wakes up and comes running out.
Well, that was like that situation for us. It was like, was this planned ahead?
Yeah.
Or was it like so I think for us, or at least my brain was like, yeah, I understood pretty quickly seeing his picture. It was like a level of tribute. I was like, but was this still part of the game and he just changed it to being a tribute? Use him as like the bait, like that there's still a mystery part to it.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And anybody who plays any of these games never gonna let anything sit still for 2 seconds, no matter how.
Yeah. Right.
Like you're like, oh, something new is hit.
Yeah. I could see that, and then I kind of wish I would have told you guys, but it is what it is. The thing is, depending on what you guys do, he might pop up again. But I made y'all. I already made y'all aware that. Yeah, he's not part of the game really. He's just there just because I'm GM. It's my dog, and I wanted to put him in there.
Yeah, and I think that you like. Well, you kept adding to it too. You're like, oh, and there's a hole in the wall. We're like, oh, a hole in the wall.
Yeah,
let's go find what we can do with the hole in the wall.
Yeah, yeah. I kind of came up with that off the top too. Just somewhere for him to exit the stage, But I don't know.
I mean, you obviously know we all loved Buddy. Buddy was a good dog, and I didn't know him that long. Got to meet him a few times. But I also have a warm spot for pups in my life.
Yeah,
I have 2 of my own, and I work with them every day. So it's like it's harder for some people, especially people who don't have dogs, to understand.
Yeah.
How.
But this was my first time going through something like this, and it was tough. It still is.
I just had to go home. Yeah, no, it's gonna be tough for a long time, and I'll be honest. Like I said, Lindsay's pet, who became very attached to me too, passed away 2 years ago, and then I went home to Jersey to put down my collie about 1.5 years ago also. So it's a harder thing, and I think I just always try to tell everybody, like, you give them a good life, and that's what we're here for.
Right.
It's you can't look at it you miss them, but you gotta look at it as
you did them
you did a favor.
Right.
I mean, the guy has good life they're going to get with you. Like they're not going to get a better situation.
Yeah. So, but
it's not easy.
No, it's not. But anyway, so that was my idea. Anyway, about putting him in there and just I guess sharing the moment, I guess you could say.
Yeah, probably I would have told us all you could. If you look at hindsight, tell us so that we didn't turn it into something less, memorialized more than just a part of the game itself. But it's still a good part. So
yeah, it's all good.
Yeah.
So, that's really all I had for tonight, though. So, is there anything else you wanted to bring up yourself?
So, I got a couple things. So, one, were you actually going to let us out of that room if we cut through the door? I saw that as did he anticipate that we were going to try to cut through that door and try to get out that way? Or was he going to trap us inside originally and make us just wait days on end in there?
That's a good question, and I wonder: is is it spoilerish to answer that question or not? What do you think?
I don't think so.
No?
It's done deal. Did you change your mind in this situation and allow us out? Or
the truth is, yes. I left that option open.
Okay, so you knew we could escape if we wanted to that way. Okay.
Yes. I didn't want to make it easy though. So I had mentioned that there was a card reader inside there as well. So Kato tried his card. It got you guys in, but it didn't work.
It's true. We could have tried hooking his battery from his motion sensor or something up to the card reader itself to see. Oh no, but you would have to hook it up to a computer and all that.
Yeah, it wouldn't have worked. So I just wanted to make it a little bit harder. I wanted you guys to get stuck in there at least for a little bit. Just kind of toy around, But
yeah.
But I left that whole situation with multiple.
Well, if we hadn't brought in drama, we would have been trapped in there even longer. So
yeah.
Which there's a part of me I was going to say maybe we should leave Andromeda with Imogen.
I was going to say, well, I mean, she eventually probably would have came looking for you. Imogen probably would have eventually came looking for you.
It's true.
But yeah, I left a few options for in there, and that was the one you guys went with. So I'll be curious to see what you guys do from here.
Yeah, I'll be. I'm a little curious where we go from here too.
Yeah.
I think we're all kind of in that situation. Technically, I won't be able to walk for the next couple weeks, so I'm kind of just at the whim of the situation. But I'm.
That is something, by the way, I was definitely not anticipating.
Yeah, what are the odds? I guess the next step is figuring out, do we continue going in or we start to try to piece together the whole situation first? Not try to metagame it, knowing that I feel like I have a little bit better of a connection to what this all is now that I've read so much. Was that your intention, is for us to go through Working Joe and kind of catch some of that stuff, or did you not think it would be... Sorry, dog.
Yeah, no, you're good. No. If I had felt something would have, taken... If I would have felt something was going to be like a spoiler or whatever, I would have told you guys.
Yeah, not to read into it.
Yeah.
Well, then I guess it goes down to the next question of the only thing I can't figure out of the mission. Okay, I'm not even 100% sure all my stuff is. The only thing I can't connect to anything is still the spider aspect of it.
Yeah.
That part is unique, at least in anything I could find to read about.
Is it
unique to this?
To what?
Or is it unique to your campaign, or is there a connection to the main concept of Alien?
Yeah, this is definitely unique to my campaign.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So, searching alien spider does not help us at all.
No.
Tried that for a couple days. Tried to look at anything else I can figure out. There's nothing that connects to spider directly.
No, this is all something I put together, and I'm telling you, once you guys get to a certain point, you're going to be like, what?
So how much are you willing to homebrew this too? Because I feel like that is some aspect of, I think for at least us on the ground, is as we get more into it, is the lack of this game being fully fledged out, I guess.
I mean, do you mean as far as rules or the story?
Yeah, rules. Like the rules they've created that don't make a lot of sense sometimes.
Yeah, I've had to do quite a bit of that already. Especially when you guys do some checks, because there's really no checks except for when you use a skill specifically. Like the skills in this game have been crafted for specific very specific actions, and I think they're all mostly to do with like combat scenarios. So if you actually go look at your skills and stuff like that and read them, you'll notice that they're kind of worded to work with combat. So I've had to manipulate that to work with the campaign style.
Yeah, because you're not doing most like combat-based campaign. Mm-hmm. This is definitely more a
story-driven
act or mystery-driven to some degree.
Which, you know, that's what I wanted to do, because I mean, every campaign I played, it was just combat, and it's like, you know, that's cool. I like combat and stuff like that, but I love story. You know, I want, and I felt like as a player, I was always just kind of sitting there waiting for my turn to come up, you know, all the time. So
yeah, and I think that is. I mean, I've seen some D&Ds that are half and half, or have like a good story behind them. It's hard to write a good story into anything you're doing. It's time consuming. I know.
Yes,
D&D
it is.
Fans, it's time consuming.
Crazy time consuming, and I put a lot of thought into it too. Sometimes lose sleep over it, but I love it.
I would say I agree. There's times where I'm like, oh yeah, this is great. And then there's times where I'm like, you know, like you feel like if you go too far away from combat, then it's like everybody's driven towards combat. And then if you go, you know, I guess that's what I'm trying to figure out is like, what is there a balance act? And this, I think the difference between being story driven, there's actually a mystery driven side of it.
Yeah, right.
So it's the difference. For this, it's less, you know, you find the indicators that are, you know, mostly story / fighting. This one's definitely more story / mystery.
Yeah. And there's still a lot for you guys to uncover. You know, there's like hints here and there. Some things are coming slightly clearer, but there's still a lot to uncover.
Oh yeah, like I said, I'm sure there is, and I think for us, or at least for me, is I don't know if I would be able to figure any of it out before this, and that's the question of like, is Cable push people to try to figure out what's going on, or does he just go with the flow?
It's interesting because you all really haven't. I mean, except for when like when a spider shows up or a bag shows up or something like that, you all haven't really gone back and looked at all the pieces, try to piece anything together. Yeah.
But I think it's also because a lot of our issues have risen to stuff that we're occurring.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if we were even in like half the time in a talking shape to talk to each other, you know?
Right.
Now the question is, will it drive us more now that we're trapped? Don't have something else to do. Don't have alcohol for me. You know? What will Cable do? Will he? And that's the question I've asked myself over the next few weeks is like, what would Cable really do? You know? The drinking was always more of like a let off steam kind of situation. He didn't drink always purely based on stress, but generally really big stressful situations. Like when he got to Illumina Station, he just drank way too much, you know, or you know, he likes to let loose. So he's not always been like getting hammered on the ship as much until really pretty recently. So I don't know if that's like really he's like an alcoholic in the sense that like he drinks like just to keep drinking. He's more of like, I need to drink to relax a little bit, but when I have the opportunity and I just can drink what I want, I'll drink way too much.
Gotcha.
Like he lacks self-control, I think, more so. But but he's always kind of like been like, I have a job to do kind of guy, so I have to like can't drink too much, got to do the job kind of person. You know, he's more of that person that's like he pictures somebody who's like an alcoholic in real life as like they have a good functioning job, they go to work every day, they take care of their family, but on that Saturday night they get hammered, you know, and they just, you know, and I think that is the more Cable style of drinking. And maybe like in a stressful situation, he'll drink like take a shot or something. But that's why I'm curious if like the alcohol will be as big of an issue for him, because like the overriding stress of the situation might override. He go into working mode kind of thing. He wouldn't probably drink anyway because he'd be in working mode.
Yeah, I mean, and we've discussed it before. Cable somehow manages to always stumble upon all the weird shit that happens. So, you know.
Well, that's the thing. Like, I think he had a really stressful situation going on before this. The question will be: would he? If he had access to alcohol, I know he would drink, but he wouldn't drink probably to excess because he knows he has a job to do every day.
Right.
And in a stressful situation like this, he wouldn't want to be. I think Cable would not want to be not in control of himself, because he's never put himself in a situation where he got drunk in like where he could like be at risk of harming himself. And in this situation, he would be not able to like maybe shoot his weapon or like do this.
Right.
But that's the stuff that I think the rules kind of lacks, is like alcohol only affects wits, but it doesn't affect my ability to shoot a weapon. Right. I know. Or pilot the ship. Like, I could be technically hammered and pilot the ship. Yeah. Completely normal. Yep. So that's, I think, where like the rules lack a little bit still. And like, even in combat, like usually you were saying, oh, it's a combat concept. Drinking, you can just pass out, you know, like. Yeah. Right. I think that's, you know, that's the lack of, I wish they put more into this, you know, game. Yeah. Do you know if they're still updating this, or is this done?
No, they're constantly coming out with new content. And I know there's some more coming down. A lot of it's scenarios. This game, I feel like it was more built for the cinematic approach. So you know, when you read the core book, it gives you the option to do the cinematic scenarios or the campaign. If the cinematics are more like 1 or 3 nights of play, and then you're done. Yeah, you know, it's quick shot stuff.
Yeah, they put us into a situation, and then we have to solve it. Yeah,
the campaign just seems like it was an afterthought with this. That's how it feels to me. Now, I mean, if they're gonna revise that or build on it, I don't know. I hope they do. You know,
Joe, you gotta just start to do that. You have to start doing a campaign site, create your own kind of campaign style rules.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I do everything that I've been injecting into this. I've been keeping notes of. I've got a spreadsheet and everything. So, I've had to do it to make it work. You know, it's like the drugs that Ward is carrying around. I mean, there's they you know, it's called X drugs, I think, in the book. But I gave them a name and what they do, because there's nothing like that in the book. But we kind of needed it to make the whole world more real, I guess you could say.
Yeah. I agree. I think it's as time, you know, that's the biggest thing, is like as these rules start to be, you know, for the campaign style need to be fledged out more. I think that's the biggest thing that it kind of lacks, because it's like so much from us now that wanting to play a story-driven game. So we look at rules to see how could we influence the world around us. That's why I think it lacks somewhat. It's like you can't really influence the world around you as much as you want to.
Yeah, I will say that if this was, I don't know, something that I wasn't as familiar with, I can't think of an example, but you know, something like Conan, for instance. I know what Conan is, but I don't know the lore or anything like that. Yeah. If it were something like that, I probably would have never picked this. However, I'm not claiming to be like an ultimate expert, crazy fanatic of like Alien, but I know a lot, and I love Alien and stuff like that. So I was like, I can make this work, you know.
Yeah, and I wonder if there's like a. I was actually curious when I was thinking about like a way to make like a D&D rule set that would see D&D is designed to be around anything you really want to be.
Yep. Yeah.
And I'm sure there's probably a better futuristic version of D&D probably already out there.
Right.
That you could probably
use
as a basis guide for campaign driven, usually like mixing the two together to a degree, you know, like the
right.
Like their character sheets aren't bad, and I actually don't even mind that because it's like there is a limitation. Like we're not superhuman, so there is a limitation to how good of a pilot you can ever be, you know, like
right.
You know, real world's gonna impact you, you know, like it's not like you're a magical wizard and you could become beyond, you know, godlike almost. But I think there is still a lot they could have done in a campaign-driven scenario that would allowed more of us to be able to play a character, you know?
Right. I mean, you could even add something just as simple as feats, like they had back in like.
Well, they have talents.
Yeah.
And we don't.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, you have talents, and I don't even mind the talents. I think,
or just give them like.
I think there needs to be more classes. First off, I think the limitation of just like these 4 or 5,
there are more.
How many are there in total?
Off the top of my head, I want to say it's like 7 or 8.
Okay, it's not terrible. Yeah,
there's just some that don't work as well. For instance, there's a scientist class. A scientist is generally not going to be on a freighter. They're usually in a lab somewhere or something like that.
But it could be a curiosity where you could almost multi-class concept-wise. Like, Ward could be a medical / scientist. You know,
that's true. Yeah.
I could be a pilot / combat person, you know, like
it
probably would be semi-realistic to the real world, whereas when you are on a freighter, you are doing more jobs. So, like, if you were to have a freighter, it'd be like, okay, in a combat scenario, here's who would go out in the combat scenario. Now, there's only 4 of us, but conceptually, like, would a pilot or the company agent have time to be training their weapon skills, you know, because, you know, at times, like, when I hit a plane, I need to go hit the range because, you know, I'm the guy who, if somebody boards a ship, I take lead as a pilot, or, you know what I'm saying? Like, that would be another concept that would allow more versatility to what a real freighter would be like in a scenario that doesn't have, say, a crew with somebody who has combat skills.
Right. The other idea too, though, was
or proficiencies would be another concept. Like
proficiencies, there you go. Yeah.
Because it's like technically, there's some people on this ship that could probably pilot not as good as me, but not be too far off.
Right.
To where they're like, do you really need a pilot then? You know. Like,
yeah.
You know, do you really need a pilot? Or
I've almost entered. Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, even Mother can pilot, so it's like the only thing is you're just better. You're a lot better.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, I put a lot of time into making my piloting really, really good. So, like, all my skill sets points went to that. I mean, I maxed everything out in that world I could do.
Right.
But I think that's where that's what the game lacks, is like that's where multi-class would come in handy. Is like, well, now I need to spend XP, right? So I kind of just end up spending XP on anything I ever even touch on. So, like, oh, okay, I do an observation check because I went into combat, or I went into range combat, so I did range combat. But I have 5 XP that I don't get to use any other way, so hell, I'm going to throw it into that.
Yeah.
Whereas, if you're multi-classing, like the captain also specializes in something, or the company man also is this, on the side. That's what, when he came on our ship, he was the thing that we lacked on our ship. So then you would be like focusing your points towards that.
Yeah.
Or focusing your energy towards that. I think I maxed out piloting. So piloting to me is now kind of done conceptually. I guess that makes sense. So then what would I spend my energy putting my time into if I was on that ship? I'm an expert in piloting. I don't need to pilot anymore outside of just doing my job then. So on my off time, what would I be really focused on?
Yeah, there's multiple ways you could go with that. I mean, you could look at the talents too, but I see what you're saying. Well,
and the talents are good, but the problem is I can't increase my wit. And you have to make a wit score every time you try to get a talent. And so it's incredibly hard for me to get a talent. Because the wit score is so incredibly difficult.
Yeah, yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like it should be a rule. They should have skipped the talent being an automatic wit score and been more based on what you're going for. So if they're like going for a pilot, it'd be an agility check, not a wit check.
Right.
Like if I'm teaching somebody to fly the plane and it's a talent based on flying a plane, so you'd say, okay, well, I can't remember all the talents off my head, but yeah, you got this talent that like helps in the piloting situation. It wouldn't be a wit based thing. It'd be me teaching somebody to continuously do it, or keep trying it myself with the stick on a plane and practicing it.
Yeah, I think the idea with that was, I'm guessing here, was that wits is kind of like a combination of intelligence and wisdom. How smart you are, I guess.
Well, and I don't disagree, but the talents aren't always intelligence-based things.
True.
One of them is like strength-based. You wouldn't need any intelligence at all.
Right.
And I'm actually going to pull them up because I was curious. That's why, the one I think I wanted to get that time, and I'm like, I have to run a wit scroll for this talent. That doesn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Let me tell you which one it was, because we got a few more minutes left before we shut this thing down.
Yep.
General talents, here it is. Like fast reflexes. It's not intelligent.
Right.
Hard hitter. Hothead. A killer. Nerves of steel. There's another one.
Yeah. Yeah,
rapid fire.
I totally get what you're saying,
and I think that's the thing that it's frustrating, because it's like it limits the characters down. Because then I don't try for talents as much as I just say, okay, cool, I use my gun today. I don't know when I'll use my gun again. I'm just gonna throw it in there. Right. That's true. If that makes sense.
Yeah, there's definitely some limitations with the rules here.
And I think that's what I would like to see, because I do like this campaign. I enjoy the mystery of it. I think the mystery is what keeps me going. If it was purely me just being a freighter guy every time, I think I would have got bored faster.
Right.
I think the fact that there's something else going on in the background that we're learning about.
Yeah.
Like, that's what stuck me really even in the beginning. I was like, at first when you were talking about it, I was like, oh, I'm interested in getting in something in the neighborhood. I need something to do. And he kind of brought it up, and I was like, okay, you're just afraid, okay. But then I found out about the Halifax's mysterious situation, day one almost. And then I was like, oh, that's got me in a little bit. And then I started really getting into that whole dynamic of it.
Yeah. That's good to know.
So,
all right. Well, I guess we're wrapping up here. It's about that time. Any last words?
Can't wait to get back into it, and it sucks to be such a long drought.
I know, we got 3 weeks.
I know, it's a drought period of especially with so much having gone on, it's hard, but
I gave you all the hint that I'm trying to end season 2 soon. I'm hoping to get it done before Thanksgiving, because between Thanksgiving and Christmas and New Year's, it is impossible to get everybody together.
Wow, and I work. My job is so much harder in that time frame.
So it gives me about 2 or 3 sessions. I don't know if it's going to work, but that's the thing, is I'm not going to rush it just for that, but I hope it works out that way.
Yeah, me too.
You know. But anyway, okay. Yeah. So that's it for tonight. So for all of you, be sure to subscribe to Ties Up Buying Gaming on YouTube to keep tabs on upcoming episodes. You can also find us on many popular social media and podcast platforms. It's been a pleasure. Thanks and good night, and I'll see you soon.
See you soon.